Okay, you guys, I love telling this story, and it's been a little bit, so I wanted to tell it again. The story of the free fourplex. Brandon, how's that possible? No one's giving away fourplexes for free. This must be some creative financing strategy guru thing. You must have knew the guy. You blah, 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 blah. No. No, I'm not going to say no. Very little money out of my pocket. Basically closing costs. You know, actually, I'm going to have to go back to my mortgage statement and see if I even paid closing costs. I was able to acquire a 4-unit building for no money out of my pocket. How do you do that, Brandon? That sounds extremely, extremely like clickbait. And it is, because you're here watching. But here's the deal, you guys. There's a couple ways you can buy a property, right? One of them is take money out of your bank account, put it as the down payment, and the bank will finance the rest. Another way is creative financing, where you bring in a little bit of money, give it to the seller, and they finance the rest. Have you ever heard of the bank financing the 20% down and another bank financing the other 80% down? Why would two banks give me 100% of the funds that I need to buy this property? Well, let me tell you how. I happen to already have a fourplex, and I got a home equity line of credit on this fourplex, and I used that home equity line of credit as a 20% down payment on the 4-unit building. And then because I put 20% down of money or equity, so again, this was not any money out of my pocket, right? This is a separate account where I have access to the equity of my fourplex, and I used that equity, not any money out of my bank account, equity to buy the second fourplex. So when you really think about it, I mean, was money exchanged? Do I owe money on that home equity line of credit? Yes, right? Is there interest and other things? Yes. But I got into a 4-unit building with none of my own money. I used equity from a property I already had, just so happens to be another fourplex, to get into the second fourplex. So I want this little video here to just show you guys the power of having a couple assets. You have a house or two, you have a duplex, maybe even one fourplex. If you just have a couple properties, you can leverage the equity in those properties. You can cross-collateralize. There's a lot of different, get a home equity line of credit. You can, refinance. There's a lot of things you can do to use that money to get you into more assets. Now, is this a risky strategy? Yes. Would I recommend it to everybody? No. The only reason why I did that is because, one, my debt-to-income ratio qualified me for it. So not only did I qualify to make the payment on the first mortgage, but I also qualified with the utilization of that 20% from the home equity line of credit. So from a banker standpoint, I could afford to make all those payments. Now, am I going to take their word for it? No. I looked at the numbers and I said, hey, Brandon, do you feel comfortable making all those payments? And I said, I do, because I was able to get the owner of the fourplex that I was buying to give me almost $40,000 in closing costs and seller credits that I used for a temporary and permanent rate buy down, and maybe even the closing costs. I don't even remember if he paid for that too. And by doing that, I lowered my payment the first year so drastically that the way that the property was situated on day one, all of those rents collected paid for the mortgage and my home equity line of credit payment. That is correct. All of the interest, there was no PMI, but the mortgage, the HELOC, the interest, all of that stuff was covered by, on day one, the purchase of this fourplex. And then I said, okay, Brandon, well, what's going to happen from here? Well, I'm going to turn units. I'm going to increase the value. I'm going to raise the rents. And of course, because I did a temporary rate buy down, my rate would go up, thus my payments would go up. And I said, would I be able to shoulder that, as I continuously raise the rents and turn units and people move and that type of thing? And I was like, yeah, of course, this totally makes sense. And then what will happen over time as the fourplex pays for itself and this HELOC? Well, eventually the HELOC will be paid off. So that monthly payment that I was paying goes away, and that increases my cash flow. So not only did it pay for everything, I did actually have $400 or $500 worth of cash flow on this property. And then once that HELOC payment goes away, even more cash flow. Okay, sure, sounds like a good deal to me. And it didn't cost me anything out of my pocket. Yes, my DTI went through the roof. Can I buy anything else traditionally? No. But it didn't cost me anything. So I was looking at this, and I was talking to my lender, and I was talking to all my realtor friends and investor friends. I said, am I missing anything? Like, is there any reason why I shouldn't buy this property? And because it doesn't cost me anything. It's free. I'm using equity in my home. And I could have done that to any property, correct, right? The reason why I chose a fourplex is because that is the most amount of units you can get with a residential 30-year fixed debt, and that is the best debt. And getting the maximum amount of units is, in my opinion, the best, because that's the best way to give you a chance of cash flowing, which is difficult. So that was the free fourplex. And in fact, I'm going to it right now. That's why I wanted to make this video. I was like, why am I even here in the first place? Why do I have these kitchen cupboards, the boards, in the back of my car getting ready to be painted on a beautiful Saturday when I could be doing anything else with my life? Why am I here right now? Oh, it's because the fourplex was free, and it's actually paid me to own it since day one. So anyways, I just wanted to make this little video here, the free fourplex. If you guys are very mad because I did the clickbait thing, I'm sorry. It was technically free. No money came out of my bank account. It came out of the equity, perceived value of another property that I owned. So when they say the rich get richer, that's how. They take fake money, they take equity, they take whatever, they have their stock portfolio and they borrow against it. Anyways, it's all of these different things to get richer. So anyways, I just wanted to make that video for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, if you'd like to hear more of the details, the numbers, please let me know down below.